I've never driven a standard before.
I know.
Follow you up. See if I can grind some gears for it and make everybody laugh.
Take 4. Take 5.
5.
Take 5. Yeah. All right. Damn kids and their exhausts. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing a Sky Off-Road Design 2-inch reverse shackle kit on my personal 1995 F350. I didn't really want to lift it very much. I just was really looking more for a better ride and just to kind of level it out, because obviously the front end's always just a little bit lower than it is in the rear. So basically this is actually it's a super simple install. The reason why this kit is so popular is for the fact that from Ford, in their infinite wisdom, 95 technology, who knows, but they put the shackle in the front. And for whatever reason, I don't know why they did it, but what happens is when you hit a pothole or a bump in the road or whatever, this shackle actually fights the suspension. It doesn't allow for any movement of the front axle, so you're just jarring when you hit a pothole or a rough road or whatever. So what we're doing is there'll be an actual bracket where it hard fixes this point, and it puts the swivel point back here. It puts the shackle back here. And what that'll do is that'll allow for a little bit of movement, and it's night and day different how these trucks ride. Ford actually in '99 when they started building the Super Duty, they actually did that. They actually went to a rear shackle design. So we're essentially just upgrading to what would be a '99 to '04 design. So, all right, let's get the stuff out. Sky does a fantastic job of packaging this stuff. They definitely don't want it to go anywhere. I'm sure for most of y'all have seen reverse shackle kits 100 times, so y'all know what these things look like. But for the few people out there that haven't, it comes with a bolt pack, all the bushings and bolts and washers and heffalumps and woozles.
What?
You've never watched Winnie the Pooh?
A long time ago.
Come on now.
Whatever.
Missouri.
What? Don't even.
So, and then these are the upgraded rear shackles. Now we're actually just going to throw away the front shackles there because they're no longer going to be needed, and these will be the shackles that mount to the rear. Something similar to this here, where the big part goes down, and we'll get a closer shot of that later. And then obviously this is the front support bracket that actually makes the fixed point. It crosses the whole side and really stiffens up those front frame horns. So we're gonna get all this stuff unwrapped and take 9 miles of cellophane off, and then we'll kind of go from there. And this is where you can speed me up. So this is the hardware pack. Obviously, after we unwrapped the like 19 miles of cellophane that was on them, this is what's in them. So we've got the bushings, the bushing shims. These are sleeves that go in the frame rail, where you take the front shackle out. They just kind of go in there to stiffen that front frame horn, and then your other nuts, bolts, and washers. right, this is the upper, let's see. This is the track bar mount, track bar bolt, the body side essentially. So we're just gonna pull it loose from there. It's the easiest one to get to, and it's the one that I found the sockets for first because I was guessing, and it's been a while.
That's a really nice looking impact you got there.
You like that? Some raggedy piece of junk I borrowed from my tech guy. So we have the sway bar loose. And now we're going to take loose the lower shock mounts. Okay, let's go ahead and put a little weight on the jacks there, and we'll get that track bar bolt loose.
Ooh, matching jacks. How fancy.
Fancy. They're just AC Delco. Don't inflate my head too much.
Where's the Ford ones? Those only work on Chevy.
I need some motorcraft checks.
You know there's somebody out there.
Yeah. Oh, the cesspool of YouTube comments? No way. No way there's not gonna be somebody that says something about my AC Delco jacks.
You're right.
You know what I have to say about that? All right. Give me this.
Now what are you doing?
Taking the track bar bolt loose.
Okay.
All right, so we have the track bar loose, we have the lower shock mounts loose, we have the sway bar loose. So now all we got to do is take loose the front shackles and the rear hard mounts, and then we can start mounting up the fixed point in the front. Yeah, so at this point, if you were doing anything more than a 2-inch, you would need to take loose the drag link, take the pitman arm out, and take the factory track bar bracket off of the frame, because all of those would be replaced. The track bar bracket and the pitman arm would be replaced with longer ones because the lift is taller and you got to get all that back in alignment. With a 2-inch, it doesn't require it, so we're not going to do it. So, you own your own. All right, so while we're here, we can look at this here and kind of see the difference in the shackles. You can see also like how thick the aftermarket shackles are versus the factory ones. Obviously the factory ones are kind of a stamped design. These are a fabricated design. But these were obviously in the front, these are going in the rear. So those will go in the factory hanger on the frame, and then this will be actually what accepts the spring. All right, now time to take the back loose. All right, so we've got everything loose and pretty much ready to start going back with everything. We've got to drill some holes and whatnot. I'm gonna go ahead and stick the rear shackles in so we can kind of stabilize the axle. I'll be able to let the axle down a little bit and give us some more room up in the front. Naturally, it did not tilt the way I wanted it to. It tilted backwards, and I guess I should have figured it was going to, but whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and do these. I wanted to kind of show you what I typically do is just put like a little high temp grease on these bushings and then assemble them in the shackles. So, have a bucket of grease. All right, so we'll put one in, one side, and then we'll put the bushing here in the shim on the other side. Just kind of mash them together here. Thing I typically do to get these center shims lined is just kind of tap them with a hammer a little bit, and voila, easy peasy. I'm sure there's somebody out there telling me that I'm doing this wrong, and yeah, I don't care.
They're called sleeves though, not shims.
Oh, yeah, you know. There's somebody out there right now going, their sleeves, not shims. Their sleeves.
Well, at least one of them was me.
Yeah, well, you don't count.
Why not?
Because I said you don't count.
How does that work?
What I said.
Huh?
I said what I said. You are right, though. So now that we've got these, the bushings and sleeves put in here, we're going to actually mount it to the truck. These things are identical both sides. They're not like the factory ones. So these factory ones are kind of a directional. These are identical on both sides. So, you know, as identical as it gets. I typically like putting the bolt to the outside, so if you ever have to take it back out, it's far easier to get out spinning it with an impact. Do it however you want to, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're just gonna slide in here like this. We'll just stick the new bolt through, maybe. Just gonna hand tighten that. That's a nylock nut, so we're gonna just hand tighten all of this stuff until we get it all assembled. Mostly because what will happen is we'll get something tightened up and it'll be in a bind, and then you know where that leads you. Alrighty. And again, we're just gonna hand tighten these just to make sure we can get it all lined. Now, both sides of those are done, so what we'll do now is we'll lower this axle down a little bit, give us some more clearance in the front. Should help me tilt the front down without putting the brake lines in too much of a bind.
They're pretty tight.
Yeah.
That relaxed it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. If we have to, we'll take them loose.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have to though.
I think you'll have room.
All right. Oh. So this cross brace, the front reverse shackle mount. It actually has these welded in shims here. These are shims.
Yep.
Those were sleeves.
Sleeves.
All right. So where this initially mounted, the frame kind of sucked in. It has this like little divot in it, and these are supposed to go in that spot to kind of take that up. When you put the bolt through.
We can't see anything you're doing. There it is.
All right, so when this goes up against the frame, this piece right here will actually take up that gap, and it will, when you tighten the bolt down, it doesn't try to bow the plate or anything like that. It gets you a good firm, good firm tightness.
Wow. Is that a technical term?
That is a very technical term. It's a technical term that I just made up.
Just now.
Uh-huh. All right, we're gonna have to go down with it just a little bit more. So these pieces here actually take up this section here that would have been in the frame. Just kind of give that an extra stiffness. Stiffness. Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna get you to hold that side over there.
Okay. Other way, right?
I think so, like this.
Yeah.
And I'll put this bolt in, and I'll come over there and put that bolt in.
Yep.
All right, so the way this works is we've mounted those bolts there. This kind of sits into place and those hold it into place, and then we'll mark these holes on both sides, inside and out. We'll drill them, put the bolts through, tighten everything down, and then we'll actually put the new bolts in the springs and we'll start reassembling everything. Okay, so right now what we're doing is we've gotten our holes drilled, gotten all of our bolts in, everything like I said still loose fit. Now we're fitting up these front spring hanger bolts. And once we get all the bolts in there and get the axle kind of back secured to the truck, then we'll go ahead and tighten all the bolts down, make sure everything's good and secure. But I wanted to get everything loose fit assembled. That way I'd make sure I didn't have any kind of little bit of adjustment that needed to be made in one of these shackles somewhere here or there. Because it never fails, you tighten everything down and it winds up in a bind, you can't get all the bolts in. So that's what we're doing right now. I'm gonna finish up aligning these bolts here, and then we'll start the whole tighten down process. All right, now that we've got everything as far as the suspension goes from the RSK side of it tightened down, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna just, we're gonna bring it down, put the tires back on, and actually put some weight on the suspension so we can hook up the shocks and the sway bars and all that stuff. After the track bar pretty much tried to get the better of me, we decided we had to take off the factory front sway bar because the track bar was hitting one of the sway bar bolts. I'm not sure if you can run a front sway bar on any of these trucks.
I imagine if you modified that bolt somehow, spent some time with it, maybe.
Yeah. I guess if you shorten that bolt just a little bit, you probably could get it clear, and it would have enough clearance on the bar that it would work. You don't really need a front sway bar, especially if you got a rear one. So I just opted to take it off. But like Seth was saying, you could probably just shorten that bolt just a little bit and be good to go. Otherwise, we got it all hooked up, got the track bar hooked back up. A little puddle you see under there is power steering fluid from turning the steering wheel, kind of getting the track bar lined up. But otherwise, now it's just ready for an alignment, and it has made a pretty sweet difference as far as the stance of this thing. I would kind of wish we'd have taken some measurements of before, but
yeah,
I do have some pictures of it before. The body is now right at 26 inches off the ground with these 33s, and right at 26 inches. So this thing is so close to level, it's not even funny. The front end will likely settle just slightly, and it will bring it down perfectly level. I guess it's time to go drive it, huh? What do you think, Seth?
I guess so.
All right. Yeah, so what we're doing is we finished up the RSK yesterday, and I was not only greasy and nasty and exhausted, but we hadn't got the thing aligned yet. So I took it this morning and got it aligned, and it was about time to get the tires rotated and everything. So after that, this afternoon, we finally got a little bit of free time, and we're going to take this thing out on a test drive to kind of show you what kind of difference it does make, and we can tell you all day long how the shackle does work and how it makes it better, but actually being able to see it function, I think, makes a big difference. So that's kind of what we decided to do. We'll do some highway driving, and then we'll kind of take it on some county roads, some little like small one-lane blacktop roads, and then I'm sure I can find a dirt road or a green rock road or something like that to take you down as well.
Yep. So we've got a camera
Can you see all the cameras?
I can't see that one on that fender over there, or on your
Hopefully it
door.
doesn't blow off.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't blow off. I can see this one.
That one's kind of cool.
Yeah. So we've got one on the front end pointing in the wheel well, so you can see the entire leaf spring, shackle and all.
And then we have one on the driver's side pointing at the wheel, so you can see the wheel movement up and down.
Yep.
And then we've got one in the windshield, kind of just showing just a hood view of a POV, I guess you would, of driving the truck.
Yep.
And then we've got Seth over there that's attempting to just hold his camera.
It's kind of getting heavy though, so.
Well, if you weren't weak, it wouldn't be a problem. And then we've got Molly. Because she doesn't let me go anywhere without her.
No, she doesn't. So, this is first time for me riding in this thing with this.
It's nice so far, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely a difference. Like,
the best thing I can describe it by is, and let's take this road right here. This is a fairly decent little dirt road. Make sure that this camera's still here. Yep, we're good. So the best way I can describe it is it doesn't necessarily ride like a two-wheel drive dually would, but it definitely takes the jolt out of it. So like that real harsh pothole that you would hit, it really takes that out.
Yeah.
Here's a big pothole. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just kind of, obviously it still has some give to it. It's a leaf sprung truck, like, but it just, man, it's just night and day different. It's just not even the same. And it makes me wonder why why there's ever still a single one of these trucks out there that doesn't have one of these on it.
Right. Well, it's just
or why the hell I kept this thing so long without putting this on here.
Well, you are kind of like a pawpaw. You don't like to modify things.
Easy.
Well, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yep.
So this is pretty good. Serious potholes right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, we're good. Yeah, it is funny though, because we've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these, and we did one on your dad's truck, and we've done a few customers back when it had the actual install shop, but it's always hard to tell because that's not a truck that either of us or any of us daily
right?
drive. Like, yeah, you jump in a truck, you're like, oh yeah, that's rough ride, and then you jump in it afterwards. Oh, that's better, but it's nothing like
taking your daily driver that you know all the idiosyncrasies of, and then doing something to it to make it ride better.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've had a couple people ask just from my Instagram posts and Facebook posts and stuff like that of, what is done suspension wise to the truck. I know this video is specifically about the RSK, but I did want to make mention that this truck only has it only has the 2-inch RSK on it and a set of Bilstein shocks. That's it. There's nothing else different. It's all stock suspension otherwise.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy to think that Ford ever didn't do it this way.
Yeah, ever built one of these things, and I want to know what they were thinking. Why in the heck did they ever put these shackles in the front? Like, what sense did that ever make?
Right.
Doesn't make any to me.
It's probably getting close to like two-wheel drive territory as far as ride goes.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely it's definitely two-wheel drive F-250 for sure. Yeah.
And it's funny because I've never owned a OBS that wasn't two-wheel drive. So, so what's next on the list for this thing?
I was thinking about that. I'm probably going to put a set of airbags on the back of it. We're definitely going to have to do an install video on that as well.
Yeah.
As far as suspension goes, I'm probably done with suspension unless I just get a wild hair at my ass to do a set of 08 to 16 rear leaf springs.
Well, it's funny you say that because those bumps we just went over. Man, you almost feel it more in the rear than you do the front.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Molly approves.
Molly definitely approves.
And that's kind of all that matters.
Yep. She's like my first child.
Right.
There we go.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
You see what I mean, though? It makes it like a smoother transition. I'll be sure to hit that series potholes on the way back out.
Don't get my GoPros wet.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw. Yeehaw indeed.
Are typical for every single lane county road in this state. Tax money at work.
Work. Work.
Work. Work.
So at this point, we're really just off-roading. We're not really driving on a road anymore.
Well, they call it a road. Is that
Well,
right?
I mean,
Oh,
I bet if you tried, you would actually have a smooth surface to drive on, but we're literally doing the opposite right now.
I mean, that's the fun part, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Off-roading. It's the most off-road
That this truck will
my
likely
God.
ever see.
Oh, gosh.
So this is 65 miles an hour.
That's nice.
This is 65 because this thing's got 410s and a 5-speed in it, so this is about as fast as it goes.
This is 65, and it's everything it's got. I mean, not really, but pretty much.
Yeah, we got 2,500 RPMs at 65.
Yeah, well.
So, like all the little like whoop-de-doos in the road, you really can't feel those anymore. Like when you're driving highway speed, you know, you were like,
right?
Those just kind of go away, like this bridge transition.
Yeah.
It's really not bad at all.
Right.
It makes this thing so much more enjoyable to drive. You know what? I just thought about it. My next upgrade. I thought about it earlier. What I want to do to it. I want to put the Carrick steering on it. Because it's got some slack in the steering. It needs a blue top steering gear and Carrick steering linkages. I think that's what we got to do.
I think we know some people.
Do we?
Maybe.
I think we can make that happen.
Yep.
That'll take that kind of like it's driving a boat.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you turn and then like.
Or like seesawing going down the road, just keep it straight.
Yeah, it's like them old tractors.
Yeah. Half a turn before it turns.
We used to have an old John Deere that we used that was like it was a retired county mowing tractor, and you had to almost turn the steering wheel a full turn before it would turn. But my problem was my grandpa was too cheap to buy tie rod ends for the steering, so he bought some GM style tie rod ends from the auto parts store, cut the old ones off, and welded them on. And then when they wore out, he just never changed them.
Nice. Nice.
So he just drove like this trying to bale hay.
You know the center pivot bushings on those axles on the fronts? We had one in at the dealership that it was I don't know, it was bigger than a 4020. It was newer than a 4020.
I didn't even think y'all had tractors that small up there.
Right. It was his feeding tractor. Fed the cattle with it or something. I don't know. Anyways, this guy, whoever it was, I don't know who owned it, had let it go for so long. Those center pivot bushings, they had to. The bushings were gone forever ago. And they had to weld in 2 inches of material. The axle housing basically was sitting on the tractor.
You know you have to add this to the video as commentary.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly like the way my grandpa maintenance stuff. Yeah,
My grandpa too.
it'd be fine. It makes sense.
Hey, light's green.
Yeah, just turn green, leave me alone.
Hey, I'm impressed the GoPro stayed on.
Yeah, well, at least that one. I haven't checked this one in a while.
Yeah, yeah. At least it's cheap.
You're gonna have to stand back up. We're fixing to turn. See? Told you. Where are we going? We're turning.
That's funny.
Just gotta know where we're going. That way she can get home in case she has to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get drunk, you gotta have somebody drive you home.
I don't think she can drive, though.
Are you sure?
She's not old enough.
She's older than me and you both. Dog years.
Yeah. I don't think that's how that works, though.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I don't know why dogs can't live as long as humans. You know?
Hey, you want to get some people emotional, we start talking about their pet dogs.
Right? Like, I'm not looking forward to that day.
Yeah, what's that saying go? I can't remember the first part. It's, I wish fries were good cold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Dogs live as long as dogs live forever, and something else.
Yeah.
As always, definitely like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got plenty of projects going on, like the 97F Super Duty over there with 17,000 miles. We'll be shooting a video on the suspension on it here in a couple weeks. We're doing some pretty custom stuff. As far as we know, it'll be the world's first four-wheel drive F Super Duty on an RSK suspension, and we're having Devers build us some custom rear springs for it. So that should be a pretty cool video. Thanks for watching, guys.